All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're tackling a massive hurdle for healthcare professionals, cracking the OET Referral Letter. If you're preparing for the Occupational English test, you already know the writing subtest is intense. But hey, don't worry, I'm here to guide you through 8 essential tips that will take your approach from completely stressed out to highly structured. We're going to break down the exact strategies you need to succeed. So let's just get right into it.
So, why exactly do brilliant medical professionals end up failing the OET? I mean, it's a super frustrating reality, right? Your medical expertise is absolutely flawless. You know exactly what a patient needs and exactly how to diagnose them. But translating that clinical knowledge into the incredibly strict, rigid requirements of an English writing test, well, that is a totally different ballgame. It is honestly the biggest hurdle, and it's where so many incredibly smart doctors and nurses trip up. Look, it's not about your medicine, it's about your method. Let's make sure we know exactly what we're building here. By definition, a referral letter is a formal correspondence written to transfer a patient's care to another professional. And it requires the neat organization of case notes into a very clear structure. Think of it like building a house. You literally cannot just throw up the roof, which is your medical facts, without laying down a strategic, perfectly organized foundation first. Your ultimate goal is a safe, clear patient transfer. And doing that requires solid structure. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our chronological roadmap for today. 1. Decoding the OET writing task. 2. The 5-minute prep strategy. 3. Structuring your referral letter. 4. Separating main versus secondary issues. And finally, 5. Telling the patient story. Section 1. Decoding the OET writing task and the prep strategy. Picture this. You're sitting at the desk, the test is placed right in front of you, and the timer actually begins. What's your very first move? Well, you have an initial 5 minutes of reading time, which brings us to our very first tip. Do not waste these 5 minutes. This is your critical blueprint phase. Before you even think about building that house or writing a single word, focus is everything. This time is specifically given to you to properly orient yourself to the scenario. During those initial 5 minutes, you really want to avoid the most common pitfall out there, which is just panicking and skimming aimlessly. Instead, you need to rely on a winning strategy. Explicitly identify the reader and the exact purpose of the letter. Small bits of information can completely change the way you write the whole thing. You absolutely must find out, is the receiving medical professional already familiar with this patient, or are they a total stranger? That single detail dictates what case notes are actually going to be relevant. And this ties perfectly into tip number 5 regarding preparation and understanding. To guarantee a clear picture of how the final letter should be constructed, you need to read the task instructions multiple times and clearly identify the recipient's role. But remember, preparation actually starts way before exam day. Reviewing OET sample letters during your study time is absolutely vital. Seeing what a successful letter looks like primes your brain to replicate that exact same structure when you're suddenly under pressure. Moving right along to Section 2, structuring your referral letter. All right, once your blueprint is clear and the actual writing time starts, it's time to frame the house. If you want to pass the OET, memorize these steps right now. This is tip number 2, and it breaks down the strict paragraph structure examiners expect to see. Step 1, the introductory sentence. Step 2, the main issue. Step 3, the secondary issue. Step 4, other details. And Step 5, the request. You can't just mix these up. Neatly organizing your case notes into this specific, structured flow is absolutely mandatory for success.
Let's zoom in on that very first step. Tip number 3 is essentially the golden rule of the OET. Include the main medical issue and the request or purpose in the introductory sentence. You have to lay this down in the very foundation of your letter. State the admission diagnosis and clearly mention the referral request immediately. Seriously, do not make the examiner, or the specialist for that matter, play a guessing game about why you're writing to them.
Section 3, separating main versus secondary issues. This brings us into the danger zone, the nuanced middle section of your letter where a whole lot of test takers accidentally jumble all their medical facts together. Tip number 4 is all about learning how to untangle these facts. Imagine a patient presents with a headache and dizziness. You need to look at those case notes and play detective to figure out the timeline. Did the headache cause the dizziness, or was it the other way around? Which one is the primary reason for admission? You must determine the main issue versus the secondary issue and chronologically separate them into entirely different paragraphs. Mixing these ideas into a single paragraph is just going to confuse the reader, and honestly, it's a surefire way to drop your grade.
and that perfectly illustrates what you need to do with the rest of the information. Tip number 6, keep other details in their own separate paragraph. You're inevitably going to have related but non-primary information. Things like a patient's daily medications, their social history, lifestyle factors. Giving this data its own dedicated space keeps your main medical narrative super clean, focused, and incredibly easy for the specialist to digest.
Section 4. Telling the patient's story. Okay, so now that your paragraph structure is completely locked in, it's time for the drafting phase. This is where you elevate your writing from a simple list of facts to a cohesive story. But please, remember this hard and fast rule from tip number 8. Do not copy the case notes. Simply copy-pasting the provided bullet points verbatim into your letter is a fast track to failure. The examiner needs to see your ability to write full, professional English sentences, not your ability to just transcribe a list. Instead, you've got to strategically filter those notes, transform that raw data into a flowing story. But beware, the exam writers love to play tricks. They will intentionally plant sneaky medical red herrings in the case notes just to test your clinical judgment. You have to filter out irrelevant details and constantly watch out for that distractor information. Remember, your job is to select only the specific information that the receiving specialist actually needs. Nothing more, nothing less. Which brings us to Section 5, the final request. We've reached the end of the letter where you bring it all to a purposeful close. Tip number 7 is that the referral must be explicitly described in the last paragraph. And yes, I know you already mentioned the referral way back in the introductory sentence, but down here, at the very end, you have to be much more explicit. Based on the discharge or management plan in your case notes, you must spell out the exact action requested from the specialist. Leave them with a clear, well-structured, and unmistakable instruction. Before we completely wrap up, a quick reality check. Even with a perfect structure, minor language errors can cost you dearly. To maximize your score, it's a great idea to utilize expert services like the writing correction from Benchmark Education Solutions. It's basically an ultimate safety net. Getting direct feedback from seasoned ESL medical professionals helps you catch and correct those really subtle issues with tenses, articles, and word choice, ensuring you lock in that A or B grade. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. You know the medicine. Now, are you ready to write the prescription for your future? I think you absolutely are. By following these 8 structural rules, separating your primary and secondary issues, and avoiding those sneaky distractors, you are more than ready to tackle the OET writing subtest with total confidence. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and good luck out there.